Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome once again back to our online lectures and Q&A discussions with Mr. Ako on Zoom. We welcome you now to our Q&A session on topic number 7, which is foreign policy alignment in bilateral relations. We are once again joined by our distinguished sessional lecturer, Mr. Lawi Ako, who will guide us through the discussion, and then we will have our Q&A, question and answers after each presentation. So thank you everyone for joining us. Let's hand over the virtual microphone to Mr. Ato.
Thank you, everyone. Afternoon through. We'll start. It's a nice Sunday afternoon here, quite windy, so most of us had good rest and are just waking up now to carry on with other duties. So okay, I'll share. Let's see. Now. So foreign policy alignment in bilateral relations. So I decided to start of our Q&A session with this picture. It's purposely to show how each bilateral partner has advances its interest through how each bilateral partner advances its interest through the art of diplomacy and protocol. So this shows the first ever Papua New Guinea APEC orientation with another economy. So right after Indonesia completed the APEC host in November 2013, Mr. Jack Carrico, who is in front there, this was when he was Deputy Secretary Policy for the Department of Justice. So he led the PNG delegation to Indonesia in December of the year to commence our APEC 2018 fact-finding and research missions. Now, this delegation was received by the Indonesian Foreign Minister, Dr. Mati Natalegawa. As you can see, he's welcoming Mr. Jack Carrico and directing him in. And on the far side of the screen, on the right side of the screen, you see Ambassador Yuri Tamrin. He was the Indonesian APEC senior official chair, or they call it SOM chair. There's a lot of interpretation to this picture because you have a foreign minister welcoming a pretty low, not high level, but a low level delegation, because this is not led by his counterpart from another country, but it's led by technocrats. Okay, so it shows the bilateral relations between Indonesia and Papua New Guinea during that time, and how it was embraced by both sides. So this is active and selective engagement foreign policy in action. See, we decided that we chose who to get to during our APEC 20. See, there are 20 APEC member economies together with us, making it 21. But out of the 20, we chose the couple. So of the 20 APEC member economies, we recommended and got cabinet approval to engage more proactively with Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Japan, and the US for support. This was to support our capability as we plan to host APEC in the coming 5 years' time. So this was 2013. So with Australia provided policy support by also engage in two of its very highly esteemed universities, the Queensland University of Technology, QUT, and the Adelaide Uni. While Japan provided policy support through the economic cooperation related policy initiatives within the APEC. So this talks about, if you see the APEC website, and there are a section on what they call the SCE, or the Senior Official Committee on Ecotech, Economic and Technical Cooperation. SCE is one of four main economies within APEC, so committees, sorry. So the SCE deals with working groups covering human resource, health, all the non-trade issues. So this was how the policy agenda was sought to cover the APEC policy agenda during our host. So this picture tells a lot. It just shows why Indonesia got the foreign minister to welcome us to this journey, and from there we went on. They have since 2013 they had been together with Thailand and Malaysia and the Philippines. They were at the forefront of ASEAN's support, the ASEAN caucus support for PNG to host APEC. When you look at the, as Mr. Phil Senginawa said last week during the lectures, he said you realize that within the APEC system, they also have their own bilateral arrangements. So you will walk past a closed room with a notice outside saying ASEAN +1, or another time you'll see ASEAN +2 meeting, ASEAN +3 meeting. You see, so they bring that multilateral configuration outside of APEC into the APEC system also, which is why I'll keep on saying that the APEC system provides economies with the opportunity to meet outside of the official process to pursue and advance their bilateral interest among themselves. Excuse me. So foreign policy and national interest. In November 2011, during the APEC leaders meeting in Honolulu, Hawaii, then Prime Minister O'Neill was left with a big decision. And this was whether to withdraw PNG from APEC because it was already we've already been quietly referred to as a free rider. That was that is free rider because we by then we remained the only sovereign economy yet to host an APEC year, or to continue the membership and to therefore, which means we would need to host. And he chose the latter. He said we'll host. We all know, including him, we all knew our capability then in 2013. You see, all this infrastructure we see around Mosby today, they were not there in 2013. Okay. So in the process of agreeing, in the process of making the decision to host, he chose to be selective but active. Selective in the sense that we would continue to maintain our selective membership in APEC, and active in the sense that we would host. And immediately upon, not immediately upon return, while towards the last day of the APEC leaders meeting in Honolulu that year, he directed his department to put all the instruments in place so that the Department of Prime Minister and NEC would assume all APEC responsibilities from DFA, from the Department of Foreign Affairs. And then he made the appropriate appointments for that. So in the next 2 years, from 2013 to 2014, the PNG APEC Secretariat would be established, and we would go on to finalize the drafting of the APEC 2018 operations plan, and to commence implementing it right up to November 2018. Now, take note of the APEC 2018 operations plan, because it talks about that in a nutshell is the foreign policy white paper on APEC. Okay, and I'll explain it as we go along. So how did we work on aligning this? Now the APEC 2018 plan, in one of my earlier conversations, I did mention it. I started writing the ops plan in 2011, 2 years before even PN, well, 2 years before we were formally endorsed to host. So he actually ended up into a 1,077 page op plan. And these were the main the strategy, this was the framework of the strategic intent. Now the strategic intent or the game plan came about after a couple of workshops internally, and so for the aim, so the op plan had as its structure aim, objectives, methods of achieving those objectives, a budget which kept on changing because the budget included Eastern Highlands Province, Medang, East New Britain Province, I think, and Leh. And when you see those four provinces, you can zoom it down to the educational institutions. So we had the Divine Word, we had the University of Goroka, we had Unitec, and we had UNRWA, the Agriculture University. Yeah. So the idea, the team had the idea that if we would if we would focus funding into the educational institutions there, and then upgrade the facilities, the dormitories, the lecture theaters, the messing facilities, if we would upgrade those into a five-star hotel standards, then all the APEC meetings would be held in those institutions, including the Defense Academy at Egan Barracks. And then all the APEC meetings would be held in those institutions, especially ministerial meetings and senior official meetings. And then as soon as APEC left, then we would have those universities would be left with all those facilities to further our educational priorities. So the budget included that. But then, as you know, it became political. But some of those provinces were not aligned to the government of the day, you see. So you can understand how that works from the papers we read. So for the aims, we had a working aim which was titled to effectively and efficiently work towards a successful staging of the officials, ministerial, and leaders meetings during APEC PNG 2018. That was the aim. So if you wrote the aim at the top of a page now, then below it, you will start drawing in arrows to the following objectives. From this aim, the following objectives emerge. And these objectives included the APEC tasking statement and policy. This would, in brackets, I've just put bilateral engagement, and I'll explain that later. We have the logistics arrangements according to the APEC nomenclature, or how APEC does its logistics every year during host. We had to have conducive meeting environment, and that's security. And then enhanced interactions with delegates before, during, and after meeting. That's bilateral relations again. And advance in APEC's policy process. That's bilateral, multilateral again. By promoting Papua New Guinea as being open for business. So now you can see now. So if you had the aim up there, and then you draw 5 arrows down, and you put this 5 objectives. When you do that, then you come up with a picture that sort of says that these objectives can be likened to pillars in a foreign policy white paper. Okay, so from these objectives or pillars, the following methods of achieving these objectives emerge. So one would be the establishing the National Organizing Committee 2018, or the NOC 2018, and the cascading teams to come up with a team of team structure. Okay. Getting cabinet endorsement of the op plan and structure in order to commence implementation, funding aspect of it, and forming the team PNG that would include government, private sector, and security. So you see, all the above have bilateral implications, which meant our overseas missions and posts had to row strongly according to this particular game plan. So now comes the challenge or the first brick wall. You have missions, PNG missions abroad, all now been informed through the Prime Minister's office that these are the plans and we need to start working to achieve that. Some didn't like it, so some didn't like it, but they pretended to row. I don't know how you pretend to row. Maybe time you miss a karap lo kanu na imi pool walon man taitim bun lo putim pedal going sa lo wara you but pretend lo putim going sa na putim kama without any effort. I think that's how we can picture it. While others were full support. But again, you see, we made sure that by being selective, we directed all our attentions to those selected economies whom we knew would provide us with support, whether or not the PNG reps on the ground there liked it. And how we did is we used the APEC bilateral process to advance this. So suppose our representative on the ground pretended ignorance, then we would go to our APEC SOM meetings and had a bilateral with country A, and the country A will go back and report to its Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Trade, and they would then have a meeting with our missions, and then they will continue advancing. So you see, there was a lot of personality issues involved. So suppose you've been less location instructions law or one line blue yet, then you've suffered the embarrassment of being told what to do by another economy. So you decide which one. Okay. So this bilateral process remained our main source of relations, especially during post-APEC 2018, because the need for domestication necessitated the drafting and documenting of PNG's foreign policy on APEC, which Cabinet endorsed in its decision 36/2022. Now, this is the team that made up the National Organizing Committee on APEC 2018. So that's Ambassador Ivan Pomaliu, then who was the APEC SOM chair, now current chief secretary for a second term. There are actually two chief secretaries in this photograph, ironically. And then you have Chief Secretary Isaac Lupari as chair of the NOC 2018. You had Mr. Ian Jinga standing next to him, who was who was head of OSCA, the Office of Security Coordination. You had the police represented there, and you had the Colonel Ciele Diro representing the military. So these were the people who provided budgetary recommendations for the funding of the OP Plan 2018. Now, when you look at this picture, imagine for 1 second that these 6 persons on the screen, represent the various pillars of a foreign policy white paper. Okay, so what would be the common denominator that will bind these various pillars and sectors together for a common goal in advancing PNG's international relations interests abroad? You have the policy there, you have security there, the logistics also is covered by the Office of the Chief Secretary. So the final slide. We come back to our new foreign policy white paper that will be ready for implementation in a couple of weeks' time. So these are all questions. How do we align this with the foreign policies of our nearest neighbors, such as Australia, Indonesia, Japan, Solomon Islands, the US, and still at the same time advance our national interest? This first bullet pointer is a huge concern for us, and I say a huge concern because and it goes back to game planning. If you throw back your minds back to our first ever lecture this semester, and you look at how to organize a game plan. We must have a game plan to play. So here now we have, how do we align our new game plan so that it has commonalities with the game plans of these other nations. You know, and once we align the best economical way would be to look at would be to eliminate those points that do not align with the foreign policies of these countries. You eliminate those, and maybe we have uh, say 10 objectives on our side, and they have 15 objectives on their side or in their white paper. So we match those, and then they'll become four because the other six on our side are irrelevant with that particular economy. So then with country A, we have four commonalities. With country B, we might have one. With country C, we might have all of them. And then once we have all those commonalities, then we tie the next best thing to do now is to tie those commonalities into the into the MTDP4 and to find out and to see how whether it is there are compatibility there enough to support our international relations game plan abroad. Okay. And this is very high level we're talking about. We you see we haven't even gone down to the number of people we will uh, uh, by using a rugby league term. We haven't even gone down to making up the team sheet yet. Who's going to run on for this? Not yet. I'm not come up yet. You know. And our practice to date in the public service has shown that uh, we we are very ordinary when we are looking at restructuring our departments, and you would understand why, because when you restructure, when you work towards restructuring a whole department and a whole organization, I am informed by the experts within the Department of Personnel Management over the years that no one position is same as the next position. They must have unique uh, what do you call performance criteria. So you look him. So imagine if you was trying to do a structure for a department with 150 plus or minus position. So you have to sit down and write those 150 positions, uh, unique positions with their own performance criteria, and what level of grade, public service level of grade that would go in, and then you look at the uh, corresponding salary figure. And then you add up the whole cost of this new structure. So we would understand why most departments do not restructure every 3 years, or even some don't restructure five. Some might have a restructure exercise within a decade. Okay, while this is there, now we have a new review committee headed by Mr. Charles Abel to look at the effectiveness of how we've come and how we should go. So uh, the so now that provides another player in the equation. How does that report, the able committee, align with the MTDP4 or the post 2025 or the upcoming foreign policy white paper? There's there's a lot of questions there for us to answer. You see, and I don't know the answers to most of them too. So I thought that I throw it openly now for our noting, so that we are aware of these pointers when in the near future when you join the workforce and these points are brought up. No, we might provide some assistance with this. So with that, I'll stop there and open the return the virtual mic to Mr. Aguirre, and we can continue with our Q&A sessions on this and the other points. Thank you, Drew.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ako. We now open the floor for open the session for comments and questions from attendees. As per our list, we go straight to Stella Marie. Stella Marie, please go ahead with your comments and questions. After Stella Marie will go to Jemima. Yeah, Jemima is in. It's already in the. Yes, Stella Marie, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Yegura, and thank you, Mr. Ako, for a wonderful presentation. I have two questions based on this topic 7, and it's specifically on strategic thinking. You stated in your presentation that strategic thinking has always influenced international relations, specifically in war and diplomacy. So I have two questions based on this statement. Firstly, how has strategic thinking influenced international relations on diplomacy in PNG? And the second question is, what are the benefits of strategic thinking on international relations on war in PNG? Thank you.
Thank you, Stella Marie, for that. Strategic thinking has always influenced diplomacy over the centuries. You have thinkers like Sun Tzu, who have influenced strategic thoughts when it comes to writing on wars and diplomacy. So, in the modern context, these ancient principles have been reinterpreted to address our geopolitical challenges. So, like I said, the game plan example we have is made up of a strategic process. You see, if we do not have if we do not think strategically, then we'll get steamrolled by the other economies who have strategic thinkers thinking on how to advance their national interest with us. Okay, so the how part means that their strategic thinking thoughts from all these other missions, from these other economies or countries, would have been brought in and provided to the eminent persons group during the drafting of the foreign policy white paper by our heads of missions serving abroad. They would have brought in the thoughts of their host economies, the host countries they're in, and then made those alignments accordingly. So that once our plans are done, we know very well what are we up against, what we will be coming up against with any particular country or with any particular organization. That would be what a smart a player would do. You know, you would not want to go into a bilateral meeting without knowing who are you meeting. That's the reason why they provide CVs in advance. They provide your CVs in advance. So once you look in CV, you feel intimidated that not lamanya I am got plenty title outside plenty of alphabets lo right side lo name blame. Then walk be lo na painin mo man one time mo alphabet plenty alphabet outside lo name lo come sabotin mo lo delegation blue. That would be the smart way to do. No, you no can swim head. No can. There is no ego. In this, a little bit of ego, but don't be pride. Don't be proud. You see, once you become proud, then you are bringing the negotiation into the wrong direction. It's all because you realize that the other person sitting across from you has more alphabets on his side of the name than yours. So the best thing, so like I would, I talked about it over the last couple of months. There is what Ambassador Pomaliu did when he was Somche. He brought in all the people with the alphabets on the side of the name. So when it came to any particular committee meeting or what, we had those people in front representing Papua New Guinea, not representing it, but representing the flag. So once that person, once you sit in front and you start talking, remember you are not talking for yourself. You are now talking on behalf of your father, mother, your nephews, your uh, nieces who are at home, and because you will be once you start talking, you'll be saying PNG is, PNG thinks, PNG wants. That's the word you'll be using, and those are very serious. Those are very serious thoughts you'll be talking about, which is the reason why we have to research our national interest properly. Check the MTDP for what does the MTDP for talk about on resources or talks about on international health or what. Get those things properly. Get thoughts from experts. If they are unable to attend, then talk. Please, Salim, issues or pointers will come and we will do that. Or if they are attending, you get them to attend and get them to sit in front and talk because they have been paid at home to do that. So you sit on the front and talk, which is why strategic thinking is very important in international relations and diplomacy. There is no other way you can abuse him. They go hand in hand. And when you sit down and listen to how people are talking, they'll talk about the strategic intent and its process. They'll talk about their aims, and then they'll talk about their objectives and how they intend to achieve those objectives, and then the funding component comes up. Those are everything they talk about. If we go into international engagement without understanding this, the general strategic management framework, then by your power, you'll be questioning your thoughts of it. But if you go in knowing very well that this is how they, you already picturing the strategic intent and its structures in your mind, then you'll just sit down and listen, and you are putting this other guy across the table from you into into confusion. But he or she is gonna start thinking, is this guy not interested with what I'm talking about? So he's not taking notes, or does he know more than I? Look him. So that goes to the benefits now. So once we go into negotiations with the understanding of the historical context and our strategic wisdom, then we can tell the other side, this is what we want. This is what we think can enhance our bilateral relations. You mentioned on your third point that you are already talking about supporting Papua New Guinea through development cooperations, and it aligns with our uh, SPA 12 in the MTDP 4. We're talking about strategic alignment with development partners. You look at, so you are talking just conversationally, and on the other side, he's measuring you up, and he or she realizes that you are formidable. Okay, so that's how I will answer your two questions, Stella Marie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akon. Thank you, Stella Marie. Any more questions or comments from you, Stella Marie?
Thank you.
No, Gata. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Stella Marie. We'll move on to our next attendee, Jemima. Jemima, please go ahead with your question or comment for Mr. Ako. Yeah, thank you. We'll go to Lamunai. Please, Miss Kenny. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank sorry. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Yeager and Mr. Ako. I have two questions regarding the presentation that we had last week. So, Mr. Ako, my first question is, based off of your presentation, it highlighted the different ideologies or policies that Pius Winty had, the pan-Melanesian outlook, and late Sommer's preference for inclusivity. So how did the difference in opinion impact PNG's relationship with other countries?
Are you, Jemima, are you able to repeat the question again? I dropped out for about a few seconds, so I didn't catch the earlier part.
Okay, so my question reads, this is regarding to your presentation that you gave last week. So in your presentation, you highlighted the different ideologies or policies that both Pius Winty and late Michael Somare had. So Pius Winty, he had a pan-Melanesian outlook, while late Michael Somare had a preference for inclusivity. So how did the difference in opinion impact PNG's relationship with other countries?
Prime Minister Winty was a young leader. He was not. He had not been part of the independence movements or the bully beef clubs or all that leading up. He came on board after we had become independent, and his political career started after that. So you would note from looking at the history and his involvement in international relations that his thoughts were more nationalistic and outward looking into regional integration. Then our then our it was then our fathers who were more our fathers who had brought our new country into existence. Chief Somare and especially the late Sir Michael, he had brought in the country after bringing in all the, maybe for want of a better word, I'll use the warring tribes of our country, the warring tribes of Papua New Guinea in the 1960s, the early 1970s. He brought in all their leaders under one banner, and that is one mammoth task, which I don't think anybody. It will take a long time for anyone to do again. He brought the Highlander, the Sipig, the Papuan. You see, I'm only mentioning the regional names. Within those regions, some kind ethnic to stop inside again. He brought in all those different thoughts under one, and he was very pro inclusivity. And then when he looked across into the region, he had on the other side of the Pacific Ocean, you had another esteemed statesman, Bratusé Kamase Semara, who also expounded those ideals. And with the both of them in the forefront of it, they both worked towards bringing the Pacific togetherness involved as one. The young Prime Minister Pius Winty, when he came on board, while he looked at Pacific integration and inclusivity, he also wanted PNG to soar on its own. Now that we had been independent for a decade or so, he wanted PNG to soar on its own, to find its own wings. For the example we use on those birds and the eagles, when or baby lion, that time when they start learning how to fly, they push them off the nest and they soar on their own, find their own wings, and then find their own interest also. So that's how he was pushing for always supporting. And this is not to say that he was anti-Pacific. You see, in the Commonwealth, he kept on pushing for Fiji to be re-included again in the Commonwealth. That there was normalcy over there already. And then to look at how when it came to budgetary considerations and the fact that there was another economy whom we relied on for budgetary support, who was restructuring his strategic intent, going back to the word strategic intent, he said, okay, that's fine. While you were instructing, we'll go look elsewhere. That's when he directed the focus of the country's foreign policy drive north. So that was the balancing aspect of it. So that's how I would want to answer your question on that.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. So moving on to my second question. Why did Indonesian Foreign Minister Dr. Mati Natilegawa advise PNG to focus on hosting APEC before pursuing full membership in ASEAN?
Dr. Mati was being very nice. Dr. Mati was being very nice. And this is how, this is how he said it when he told Mr. Kariko. Mr. Kariko, I thank you very much for your Papuanese intentions on the issue of ASEAN. But please, when you return, tell my good friend, Mr. Pato, tell my good friend that let's host APEC first, and then after that, we can look at the ASEAN issue. So when we went back, so that was what he said. So when we returned back to the hotel, this is what I told Mr. Kariko. Mr. Kariko, this is how I'm talk. I'm talk him. You miss him strongly, me personally APEC. Because ASEAN by 2010, 2011 was already hosting 1,000 meetings. They might have structured it down to less than 1,000 now. I'm not so, but then it was 1,000 plus meetings. And APEC, we could host APEC's system enables us to host about 230, 250 meetings during the APEC hostess. So, and they know very well our capabilities. That this was the first time we were working on hosting our biggest ever multilateral engagement. So, being a good friend, he said it. What he was saying, he was not he was not talking about Indonesia's thoughts on it. He was talking about the whole ASEAN 10 member states. They would have held a caucus meeting, and they said, please, any one of you, when you meet with the PNG delegations at whatever level, convey our thoughts so they can pass on the thoughts to their foreign minister. So he was actually saying that have a go with APEC first and see how you can host. And then once you do that, you will move straight. We can consider, because you see, ASEAN has a meeting. Let's say has about 1,000 meetings to host, 900, 800, 700, or 1,000 plus. Those are the number of meetings you will host as host of ASEAN in a year. Okay. Secondly, all of them or some or most of them must, well, you must have an ASEAN ambassador based at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta, in addition to your bilateral ambassador, which means for PNG, PNG would have its ambassador to Indonesia plus ambassador to ASEAN. One. Thirdly, you must have a dedicated division looking after ASEAN matters. Why? Because this dedicated division will support your ASEAN participation in all those 1,000 or so meetings you will need to attend when one of the ASEAN members is hosting. Okay. So that means once you are hosting, I mean, you look at the 240 or plus meetings we hosted in APEC. We wrote 139 documents of it. There were 139 documents which the PNG APEC team wrote to support the policy configuration of our APEC 2018 host. One particular department contributed 0. And with that, the challenge they were facing, and then all of the economies around the APEC region know about our capabilities. One more department also meeting working group meetings, one and all departments or sectors who do not go, which is why when we start talking about any issue in the regional sense, they will know that they're talking with substance, or this guy is not talking with substance because at the working group level, they are not there to attend. So now at this high level, they're talking about those issues we discussed at the working group level, which they were not there. So political announcements are political announcements. Throughout the whole world, politicians make announcements. The onus falls back on us, the bureaucrats, to come back, sit down, and start looking strategically. So if you are at that level and you do not have any strategic thinking capability, the big suggestion here is to go get it. Go get it for the good of Papua New Guinea. Because once you sit there and start talking, imagine the other guy across the table from you, and those ones sitting behind him, and those ones sitting behind that one who's sitting behind you, behind their leader, are all strategic minded. They've gone through a couple of, most of them have masters. They're all working. They are qualified to be sitting there. But because of diplomacy, they'll be nice, and the art of diplomacy is such that even the current chief secretary, every time this we meet and the conversation goes to diplomacy, he keeps on reminding Mr. Ako, some of you guys, I don't know where you go to diplomatic training from. You are very outspoken. Then most of you guys are diplomatic, have non-diplomatic outlooks. Okay, so it is very, very important for us to have those. So when Foreign Minister Natalie Gawa informed that, we came back and informed our Foreign Minister accordingly that this is what it is. Now you go back, this was 2013, go back 4 years to 2009 when I was the note taker to Foreign Minister Abal's bilateral with the Singaporeans. Now the Singaporeans were blunt. The Singaporean Foreign Minister bluntly told our Foreign Minister that most in ASEAN do not consider you Asians. Look him. And again, we have to zoom it down strategically and ask, why is the ASEAN membership so important for Papua New Guinea that it continues to want to become a member? And I'm asking ourselves that from an APEC angle, because this 10-member state or 11-member organization you want to join, 7 of their big boys are already in APEC. And every year you have the opportunity to meet with their leader, their foreign ministers, their trade ministers, their agriculture, all their ministers and their senior officers at 4 times a year. So it begs a justification. So why are we still keen on that? Yes, they say that APEC is economic, ASEAN is political. That's fine. But the APEC bilateral system enables us to talk about political and security issues also during those bilateral meetings. Isn't that the same thing? 2 for the price of 1? Those are things we have to consider. Like I said, politicians throughout the world, they continue. It's their job to talk about high level stuff. Job all bureaucrats is to sit down, plan him out, come up with 10 scenarios. Suppose you may join Emulsion, you have to sit down and plan him work for you. You're a bureaucrat, you're paid to do it. But how can you do it if you do not have any strategic capability in your background? We need those to do it. So that membership, that's given at the highest level. We need to read between the lines on the outcomes of those bilateral meetings which our esteemed foreign minister had with his ASEAN counterparts, his ASEAN colleagues, when we went to the ASEAN meeting as a special observer. Okay. Oh, and I forgot one thing, sorry. So after the Singapore bilateral meeting, when we came out, and then I was in the briefing again when Foreign Minister Abal was briefing PM Somare. Na time and briefing mo sen PM Somare to losing past them. We work through APEC. Just you may strong in membership limit APEC, and then we go membership wasn't by come, but we you may losing past them. That's what he told Foreign Minister Abal.
Thank you, Lamana. Any questions? Any more questions or comments?
No, that's all from me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ako. We move on to Philip. We have Philip Jeffrey and then Sweden. Philip, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager, and thank you, Mr. Ako, for the presentation on foreign policy alignment in bilateral relations. I only have two questions. My first question is, so we all know that Australia remains as PNG's largest aid donor and security partner. So my question is, how does PNG ensure that its diversing doesn't undermine the depth and trust within its critical bilateral relationship with Australia or vice versa?
Sorry, Philip, could you repeat the last part? The last part.
Okay, I'll just repeat the whole question. How does PNG ensure that its diversing foreign policy, particularly its growing engagement with China, doesn't undermine the depth and trust within its critical bilateral relationship with Australia or vice versa?
It boils down again to strategic thinking and planning. You know, now we have two economies which we really want to maintain our bilateral relations with at a higher level. Every year we want to increase it. Now we have our bilateral relations with Australia, where in the next couple of weeks' time we'll be concluding and signing the security treaty, and we still want the markets up in China. Okay, so how do we blend those in with our foreign policy undertakings? Okay, and this, from my own personal point of view, this boils down to again to the practitioners. Because a fine example of that would be our one China policy with China. That one China policy with China signed in 1976, I think, by Grand Supreme Michael. It also has the Chinese understanding for us to trade with Taiwan. No political engagement, but trade with Taiwan. Okay, you go set him up, talking about table mama, table papa, go set him up market law, Taiwan, working business. So that understanding is there. That understanding is there, and I think there is a communique also on that. Signed up in 1985. I will have to confirm, but there is a communique, official understanding that we can do business with Taiwan. So based on those examples and those experiences, I am very sure that our thinkers can come up with plans to ensure that, and which is where the free trade agreement FTA agenda comes in. Okay, because we must know that while our bilateral partners are saying that are encouraging us to improve our relations and development partnerships with them, and discouraging us to not to continue with in a different direction. Those same partners also have FTAs and bilateral arrangements with China. You look him. So then we have to ask. So where is the middle ground now? On this, and when I discuss this issue with a lot of during the APEC when I was in government and when I discussed this issue with our Australian colleagues, Go ahead, go do your stuff with China, trade, do business. So now we go back to our initial one of our earlier lectures on the private sector's involvement in foreign policy. Then it brings in the picture of those MNCs involved in major investment of major projects, and how those MNCs can continue to influence a government's foreign policy. So it's a lot of variables at play here, and it's a lot of variables at play here where I think you cannot manage them by using brain power alone. They have to be documented. They have to be documented. You have to sit down with your teams and grill into them all the aspects and the pillars. Once we have the pillars, our new foreign policy outlook out, then we you know, during our Q&A sessions, we would have to look at the pillars and see how well they align with the MTDP4, and then down into the number of players who will play in them. When it comes to making up the team sheet on who to play economically or politically, based on Philip, based on your question, that making up of the team sheet again goes to the capability of the persons whom we are putting as number 1 goal or number 17. Is he trained? Does he have the necessary training capabilities? How old is he? You know, like the NRL, there's no 40-year-old playing in the NRL, and even you lucky 31 by you play, and below 30. So once you lapun now, batoka, you know, we have to let you off. So are we utilizing that experience and brain power in this team sheet? And this team sheet should not be used to play with all these bilateral partners. You must look at capability, blow one player inside the 17 men or 25 men squad, and said, okay, this line but play one time or but play this like game one time Australia. This line put him all but play one time PIF. This line one time European Union. This line one time all Asians. And you see, so once I'm mentioning that, I think your mind is clearing up now. So this is how you structure a department accordingly, based on the foreign policy. You can't have a big game plan and here and in your department is structured differently. You might have you have a game plan on rugby union, and you're structuring your teams based on a basketball structure. I am by wrong. The supporters will go crazy. Note very well that when we are playing internationally, our spectators, which means the people of Papua New Guinea, are supporting us, and it is for their benefit. Once you miss a scoring try, all Bahamas. And scoring tries comes in the format of securing large investments that will go all the way to the village level, not float around somewhere on top and go back, but go all the way to the village level. All Balukim. Those are the wins which our people will cheer about. So I'm very glad we have these conversations, because it also provides us with a lot of ideas to come up with. So, and these ideas are important during our other engagement with Mr. Aguirre and the others, during our other engagements at other levels. We discuss the same ideas with our colleagues, and most times these ideas are new now. Also, Hamamas, they're happy. Oh, okay, we never thought about these things. We'll take those into considerations. But yeah, so that is how we can align different systems. You know, I was at the Pacific Island Regiment Veterans League black tie dinner last night, and one of the former colonels who were trained in China, I was talking with. He was telling me, it was a very mind opener that 12 months he spent in China, because from the training I got from Australia, I went to the staff college in China, and this was a total different mindset. It was more people oriented. You see, so and that tells a lot, because then it tells a lot about the system of government and how we work, how we can organize ourselves going forward in terms of whatever sector we want to advance or pursue our national interest in. Okay, Philip. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. I think you answered my second question also. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Mr. Ako. We'll move on to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, please go ahead.
Okay. Once again, good night, Mr. Igra and Mr. Ako. So I have 5 comments to make and one question to ask. All based on our previous lecture on Thursday on the look note policy. So I will begin with my comments. So my first comment, the look note policy is an important policy in terms of economic opportunities, because we all know that Asian people, they are more business orientated, meaning the Asian people have the mindset and focus on doing business. And with the look note policy, it kinds of creating an avenue or a pathway for us Papua New Guineans to learn from the Asian people about practical ways to do business. And also the policy has enabled Asian companies to invest here in PNG, and which significantly contribute towards our economy. Okay, moving on to my second comment. So after independence, PNG was heavily dependent on Australia in terms of aid and annual budget, as stated by Mr. Ako on this day. And as PNG is seen by many as a dependent for Australia. So with the application of the look note policy, it aims to reduce PNG's dependency on Australia so that PNG can stand on its own 2 feet and sustain itself. Like stated in Dr. Philip Mitna's doctoral thesis, the look note policy is a strategic move towards reducing national dependency on Australia. So we can say that one of the prime intent of the look note policy is to reduce national dependency on Australia. Okay, moving on to my third comment. So apart from economic benefits and reduced dependency on Australia, the application of the look note policy in the post-independence era, it kinds of promote our national identity, where PNG was indirectly telling the world that we are an independent state. We are free to make friends with anyone or do business with anyone that we want. So it's the policy is kind of promoting us as an independent state, promoting our national identity. Okay, moving on to my fourth comment. So despite the benefits of the policy, there are also downsides. Like for instance, the Asians. Due to that policy, the Asians have dominated all our retailing space, thus making us Papua New Guinea become employees of the foreigners in our own land, which make us become spectators in our own land. So where the policy, it's like a vehicle that drive great numbers of Asians into our country, and it is a disadvantage to us Papua New Guineans. Okay, moving on to my fifth comment. So my fifth comment is based on the fourth comment. I want to make a recommendation. Like, why not in the future the government could create a foreign policy, like a business-oriented type foreign policy, which the policy will give guidance to the government on how best they can support PNG citizens or PNG-owned business to go and invest in and do business in other countries. Like what the Chinese government doing, they used to support their people by providing a startup capital to do business in other countries. So yeah, it would be nice for PNG government to also do something like that by supporting the people to do business and invest in other countries through like a national support or ISTN scheme, something like that. So yeah, so that the profits of doing a business overseas can be invested back into the country. So in that way, we can address some of the domestic economic problem we are currently facing, such as shortage of forex, and yeah. So by doing this, it will strengthen our foreign currency and increase our foreign reserves. So yeah, this is just an idea after learning about the disadvantage of the look note policy. Okay, before I go, I will ask one question. So, Mr. Ako, my question is, the look note policy, was it a formal white paper or document, or it's just a word of a mouth approach, or some talk, that's all?
No, I'm sure there were memos involved and briefs to cover that, but in terms of actual white paper endorsed by Parliament, no. The only white paper that is endorsed by Parliament was the 1982 active and selective engagement, and I do agree with your comments, all your comments, but also your last comment on the government providing those avenues. I think they have been provided. They've been provided under some of the regulations that have been done up now, like the IPA's indigenous business call. I think, Mr. Aguirre, you can help me with that. Did that? It's still part of the parliamentary discussions on the indigenous businesses. I think it has not. It hasn't gone past parliamentary endorsement yet since last year. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it, and there's also the government has those SME startup schemes, which is done, but it goes to managing and enforcing those rules that cover the proposed initiatives you were talking about. I do agree that the look not policy also has its advantages and disadvantages, purposely from each individual's point of view. Okay, and I'll go back to my earlier point about politicians being politicians and making those announcements, and the onus falls on the bureaucracy again. And one of the main points that the bureaucrats did in advancing this local policy was becoming a member of APEC in 1993. You know, APEC is mostly made up of Asians, and that was one way our fathers in the bureaucracy thought that that would be one way of doing it, becoming a member. But our membership of APEC was based. It came on the back of Mexico's entrance. Ironically, our partner, Australia, were the ones who thought we were not ready to become a member of APEC. So the Indonesians hold APEC. You know, it's based on consensus. So during a bilateral meeting, the Indonesians, I can't remember his name, but the Indonesian foreign minister told the his Australian colleagues that we won't support you unless you support Papua New Guinea's membership into becoming a member of APEC. See, so based on that, when Mexico was based on that, everyone agreed for PNG and Mexico to become members of APEC. So when the media sensationalizes issues in terms of in terms of regional politics and integration, such as the plight of our Melanesian Wantoks in West Papua, and all those are part and parcel of our international relations. But we need to also look deeper and find out who really supports us in international engagements. When you look at the cover of the foreign policy book which we wrote, in that cover, you will see me taking notes for Prime Minister O'Neill, Prime Minister Morrison, and Prime Minister Ardern. But what people do not know, the conversation in among those three was that Prime Minister Morrison is telling Prime Minister O'Neill that let's just go with the suggestions which the other APEC leaders are telling us to change the declaration so that it can get endorsed. Now, Prime Minister Ardern is telling her Australian colleague, no, this is PNG's agenda. You and I, our responsibility is to go telling other economies to support PNG's agenda, not to compromise. So you look at the difference between leaders and the difference how they view us. Then you will. You see, that was why in November on Sunday, 18 November 2018, when I was running between all the foreign ministers. Again, the Indonesian foreign minister, well, actually, as soon as I ran past the Indonesians, the senior official came and stopped me and said, "Lahu, come first. Our foreign minister wants to meet you." So now, when I went, and it was a very majestic lady, a very short, majestic lady, foreign minister. He told me, "Lahui, I hear you have an issue of getting consensus." Mito, yes, madam, and true. I'll help you. I'll help you go through my colleagues through my APEC colleagues to tell them to support you. So thank you. So you look at the support people are giving us, as against what we read in the papers. No. The support you may expect him are not coming from the support that is publicly told in the papers that we are joined at the hip. While people whom we view differently provide the support, which was a reason why when we all congregated, when all the senior officials, APEC senior officials congregated in Singapore in December. Yes, 7th December 2018, we all congregated in Singapore. And I gave the APEC process a piece of my mind. I told them that you have to stop this hypocrisy. Because they wanted to give the Chilean APEC senior official was pushing for APEC endorsement for a statement, their leader statement, to be endorsed. And I told them, no, you cannot equate our host this year, last year in 2018, with your host, because during our leaders meeting, we met. We had a physical meeting. All the leaders came. But because two large economies brought their trade war to our backyard, and we were unable to referee them properly, and all of you said we don't have consensus on this declaration, so we came up with a statement. So no, we are not going to have a statement. You people never hosted. The Chileans never hosted a leaders meeting. There was widespread demonstration in the streets that President Pinera stopped, asked APEC, and regrettably told them that there won't be any leaders meeting. So during that special senior official meeting in Singapore, I told them it will not happen. And I held out from 1 p.m. until 8 p.m. Me cross and me stand up outside. So they had to suspend the agenda some meeting. And guess who fronted up to support me? New Zealand and Indonesia. They all came and said, "Lawi, how can we help?" I said, "You go and tell the Chilean guy we are not going to do this." All those so-called friends walked past. And I purposely told those so-called friends, I will not talk to you, or you. Because last year when I was running up and down APEC house to seek support, only these two people, I will talk to New Zealand and I will only talk to Indonesia. I will not talk to anybody else. Because when we needed you last year, you were not there. So while there was this stalemate, the Malaysian senior official came and saw me and I said, "Yes, Hairil, what he said, Lahui, please, by 8 p.m. tonight, I need to provide Prime Minister Mahathir the understanding that he can tomorrow he can launch APEC Malaysia." So, no, you will have it. I just want APEC to understand that there is no double standards. There won't be a statement for Chile. Sorry. So when we resumed at 8 p.m. that night, you will realize that if you go into the 2019 Leaders Declaration, it is not a statement, but it's reflections by President Pinera. That was what we demanded. Because my point was that if you have a statement here, how am I going to go back home and explain to my Prime Minister that Chile had a statement? And my Prime Minister is going to tell me, but we never attended the meeting. How come we'll come up with a statement? Lahui, what did you go and do in Singapore? So every time, that's the national interest at play now. So once you come up in the direction, always fall back to the national interest and what is an overall national interest, that you will not go wrong. Of course, when we went to Malaysia the following day, all those apex senior officers were snubbing me. All snubbing me na mi to ka wari bli snub grand final last na mi win ya. Me game over last na mi win finish and I'm new play game ya. So that starting from Malaysia, I started rebuilding relationships again, and I went about all throughout that. I left after someone. So during that informal senior official meeting in December 2019, during someone in February 2020, I convened 20 bilateral meetings with all of them and told them the reason why we did this last year was because of this. You do understand that there is no double standards in APEC. There must be consensus. So when all of you consent for Mike Papua New Guinea to have a statement, because we gave you a way out. Paragraphs 9, 16, and 17 of the 26 paragraph declaration. Those three paragraphs, 9, 16, and 17, were WTO paragraphs. If we had taken those three paragraphs out, it wouldn't have changed the tune of the declaration. And all my prime minister wanted was that if these three paragraphs are so offensive, then we can take them out and we will only have a 23 paragraph document for all of you to sign and PNG would have a declaration. But no, God, you press strong to no, put in this word. There was a word, the now offending word was based on inclusive trade and free trade as opposed to inclusive trade. There were opposing views by one group. They always was the word free trade. All like him inclusive trade. Well, not no, you must free trade. So it was a WTO thing. Okay. So if we had taken out those three, then PNG would have come up with it. I told him then PNG would have come up with a declaration, and we would have supported the consensus in having Chile come up with a statement. But Nogat, you wanted to make, you made us look small. We are small, but you don't have to point it out to us. You made us look small. That's a way to come back big and tell you it was not going to happen. But the biggest plus of all that PNG APEC 2018 statement issue came up to now is that we've now provided APEC with a way out for all the hosting economies when they are fronted with a lack of consensus when it comes to the leaders declaration, and that happened from 21, 22, 23, and 24. They now use the word the PNG way. So they tell the options, okay, well, the only option you have is to go the PNG way now. Get your leader to get a statement. So we've now provided APEC a way out from that experience. So that's the plus that came out with it. And I hear that in 2033, Cabinet has endorsed for PNG to host APEC again. So by the time all of you will be out in the WEC system, and we'll all go and support you, lead us into hosting APEC. We'll just cheer you guys on from the sidelines.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Mr. Ako. We'll go to Sweden. Sweden, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Yagora and Mr. Ako. So, can you guys hear me? Okay. I just have two comments to make. So, from my comment will be based on your presentation on look not policy. So, in your presentation, you have mentioned something about a bilateral agreement between PNG and Indonesia agreement they've signed in, I guess, 1992 or something, but under the Prime Minister leadership of Robi Nauli, so Namalui. So this agreement was basically it was to it was based on like defense agreement which the two opposing defense they have to come together to work together and collaborate in minimizing the illegal activities that are happening along the borders of Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. So with that, I would say that look not would say that this is a good action or a outcome of the look not policy. So regarding that, so now today, as we can see, there's a lot of illegal like smuggling of firearms, illegal firearms into Papua New Guinea, and with that, we're having a lot of domestic violence, or we say trouble fights up in the islands and all this. And so, like, I believe that a lot of the illegal firearms have been smuggled through these borders. Uh, so I think our government need to look through that, and also what I like go and negotiate with the Indonesian government, and then like this do what has been done before by the minister, so that in that way they can minimize the illegal activities that happening along the borders of Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. So that's my first comment. To my second comment, I agree with your presentations regarding the Lugnot policy. You have stated that it has a lot of benefits on Papua New Guinea, including trades and economics opportunities for Asia, for Asia, and especially with China. So you can see Chinese has invested a lot in Papua New Guinea, and also they are increasing our economy, and also developing our, what can I say, our developing job opportunity, or creating a job opportunity for a lot of our citizens in the country, so which is a good thing that we're faced by our country. So yeah, I think that is my comment, and that's all.
Thank you, students, for your two comments. Thank you for adding more detail and depth into our discussion on PNG's foreign policy in general and also the North policy. Let's listen to Jemima.
Sorry, Jemima, just let me jump in here. Just in terms of Sweden's comments, I do agree about uh, the international crime situation you mentioned. Just to add on to what you're saying, there are avenues in the bilateral process between both countries where these issues can be brought up. You know, Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, they meet regularly on the joint border committee and all that. So these issues can be put on the agenda, and then progress from there. Okay. Emta Somila Edim Law comment.
Thank you.
Jemima, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Egera and Mr. Ko, and apologies about earlier. And thank you for allowing me to make my comments and questions again. So I have some questions and comments. So my first comment is on the PNG foreign policy principle. So PNG has maintained a guiding principle of friends to all, enemies to none, as we all have learned over this semester and since independence. So this allows the country to build flexible partnerships while avoiding entanglement in global rivalries. So that's my comment. And my question on that is, what time, how is the principle of friends to all, enemies to none, influence PNG's bilateral relationships over time? Mr. Koi can answer that and I'll continue.
It depends on how you as a practitioner views that friends to all, enemy to none. Because right now, I personally think that that has merged into selective engagement. You know, yesterday it was loosely. Yesterday at the PIR veterans dinner, it was loosely mentioned by the some of the people who gave speech, saying that, you see, we are friends to all, enemy to none. So our friendship with the Australia, the ADF, and the New Zealand Defence Force continues. To me, that's selective engagement, because we have been selective with our military partnerships. You know, we know very well that we have a strong military relations with Australia, so we are pushing more in that direction than across the border with Indonesia or to China or all that. So that's selective engagement on my part. So it actually depends on under what context you look at it. When we say friends to all, that means you have gate open, everybody have friends blue. But practically, that's not the case today. We have been very, very cautious and selective on who we engage with. So that now depends on. So if we decide to discuss, look at that further, then we might even say that the friends to all, enemy to none strategic intent becomes the highest level intent, and then below it we have, you can either be selective, so you have the universalism approach at the top, and then Tumblr you draw in two-player arrow now. One player the selective engagement, and not player you maintaining friends to all. But where does it do? How do you define it? No, who do you define your friends are and who your enemies are? In this time and age when artificial intelligence is now being used across all the sectors, it would be the word enemy should not feature in any bilateral interactions. Because the very moment we use that word, then that shows that we have thoughts on who some of these people are. That's my own personal thought, you know. If we continue to use the word enemy in our conversations, IR conversations, then that shows that we have enemies. That's why we are using it. You now simply use the word enemy, then we are in fact friends to all, enemy to none. Because we are not using the word enemy. All big man, all lapun ba lain yung may budlo disla. Unfortunately, most of them are not gone now, and people still refer to me as a lapun now. So, Jemima, that's how I would answer that.
Thank you for that answer. My second comment is on PNG-Australia relationship. So Australia remains PNG's closest partner, as we all know, providing aid, security support, and development assistance. However, PNG sometimes seeks to assert independence in negotiations over resources and sovereignty. That's my comment. And my question on that is, why does PNG continue to rely heavily on Australia while also seeking greater autonomy in their bilateral relationships?
Sorry, Jemima, could you repeat the last part?
Why does PNG continue to rely heavily on Australia while also seeking greater autonomy in their bilateral relationship?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question that continues to be asked every day at the policy levels. My take on that is it will go back to the bilateral agreements we signed, the development cooperation agreements we signed. In there, in those development cooperation agreement, there are requirements for us to pursue as partners or as parties to that partnership. For instance, the CSEP, the Comprehensive Strategic Economic Partnership Agreement between PNG and Australia, that was signed in August 2020, I think, signed virtually. That CSEP has, I think, 33 or 35 activities which the parties must undertake in order to implement the pillars. The CSEP is on, it's a public documentation on the internet. You can download it. We will question ourselves how far we have gone with the 33 activities, 30 or so activities which the partners must do. And those 30 or so activities are all come under the pillars of the CSEP. I'll stop my answering of your question on that. So based on that, you see, the onus of progressing these undertakings falls back upon us as the bureaucrats. Again, it goes all the way to your knowledge and your capability when it comes to strategic thinking. Those high-level undertakings, as students of strategic management, we all know that as soon as a strategic intent is given and the parties endorse the pillars, then we know what's going to come under it as they cascade down. You misabe. And that's the basic understanding which must be also taught and retaught at the public service level. That this is how you manage public policy. This is how you manage foreign policy and public policy. Manage. Suppose you know match. If those policies do not match, then there is the answer. It is not in our interest. Just because they don't match and we keep it there, that's not right. Time will not match. Then you tell the other side during the negotiation, no, this one doesn't match with ours, so rouse him. Or you got to wait because there is a couple of millions to be included as part of his budget. Can we reward it? So that by match one time MTDP4 belum mipla. And by match one time foreign policy belum mipla. Because once it doesn't match, then the ONU Assembly, we have to get instructions back from our political boss. All I ask him also now, all but provide him some assistance, funding assistance to this, but I cannot locate this law MTDP4 na foreign policy blame. So I'm recommending this. Maybe we talk about some new one diabetim golo pillar 4 foreign policy blame. That would be how one would go about doing it. So in that way, it's a win-win situation. They want to provide his assistance, and we are telling them, okay, assistance you'll provide him, no got pause here, but it has some correlation to this pillar up here. So are you able to go back? Then we throw the ball back at them, and they will go back to their political masters and reword the agreement and come back again. Now you may sign him in that way or something by flow. Because most of the development activities which we are doing now were already endorsed at higher level and signed off with the parties over the decades you may come. They've been reviewed, resigned, and reviewed, and all signed again, and you may come. We have the MTDP4 as our sign guiding light when it comes to domestic policy. MTDP4 from SPA 1 go to SPA 12 maps it out really nicely. It's all our bureaucrats at the national planning and treasury and finance and all the other government departments who contribute. They provided us a blueprint on economic development. And between now and the launching of the new foreign policy white paper, that is the guide one should bring to all his or her international engagement. That is the guide which our heads of missions abroad should be holding up when they go to the foreign minister, to the home foreign minister to pay courtesy or what they said. Can we get assistance from? I note from the papers that your development cooperation agency is providing this, and I'd like to come and seek support whether we can direct that into this angle in my country. That's what we should be doing. We all heads of missions role abroad are to tell the host economy that PNG is open for business through these angles, and that comes back to I think Philip's comment on transnational crime. When I made it's all there in the agreements. We just have to have the strategic management capability and drive to divert it according to the MTDP4. And also late now with the new foreign policy white paper, see how it matches. It's exciting. I'm so excited as a student of strategic management. I'm excited because I want to see the foreign policy white paper and then get the 12 plus SPA and start joining the dots. Start joining the dots so that those that do not join, I will come back to you guys and tell you, don't waste your time in this one, I'm not join. Lucy, these are the four that join. Let's concentrate on those things and see how well we can push this agenda abroad. Thanks, Jemima.
Thank you. Moving on to my third comment. This is on PNG and China relationship. So recently we've seen and heard that China has emerged as a major economic partner through the Belt and Road Initiative, funding roads, buildings, ports, and others in PNG. So while this creates opportunities, it also raises concerns about debt and dependency. That's my comment. And my question is, what opportunities and risks does PNG face in aligning with China's development agenda?
I didn't catch that last part. What you mean to say how it aligns with the development agenda, or can you repeat?
What opportunities and risks does PNG face in aligning with China's development agenda?
Jimmy, are you asking how our MTD4 aligns with China's development agenda on the Belt and Road Initiative, or?
In terms of the opportunities and risk that comes with the Belt and Road Initiative, and how the challenges I'd say that PNG faced in aligning with China's development agenda.
I'll try answering this because your voice was breaking up. But the Belt and Road Initiative, the China's BRI, I think it works hand in hand with the Exim Bank. So once we sorry, not Exim Bank, but the bank that gives out funding support for countries who sign on to the BRI to utilize. So they've got the funding and they got the policy arrangement in place on this side. So once we've signed on, and in order to go into drawing down the support from the development corporation, that development corporation space, they also have the banking services, for want of a better word, available for their bilateral partners to draw down from and do it. The internet is full of the disadvantages and advantages of the Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, so it depends on how we look at it. We look at how it is involved in the if it is also part of the Connect PNG agenda. We look at some of the major road projects and see how that Chinese companies are involved. Note very well that most of the Chinese companies also bid for contracts under the Asian Development Bank's contract process. So if there's an ADB project, road project in place, and we see Chinese company, it is not part of their BRI. They've gone through the ADB process to bid for and win contracts there to come and do work on that. Quality how and result blame, it's not the issue we are discussing here, but we're talking about the process of Papua New Guinea's engagement, bilateral engagement with China. We also have to understand the Chinese system that it puts out its state-owned enterprises, companies like Covec, these companies who drive their development cooperation agenda around the world to support their foreign policy undertaking. The Belt and Road Initiative is the biggest ever foreign policy undertaking, and everything else falls under that. They build us roads, and then they'll come in one time bilateral assistance bill. Again, it falls back on us. People will most there's an argument that Yumi Noga, you must go pine him. Yeah, but hold on, before we understand Yumi, we are Yumi Liklik na our wallets are smaller than the wallets of the developed economy. That's fine, but we live on we live about above an earth full of natural resources, gold, oil, copper. Those are our resources which we can use to leverage our international relations priorities. How well we go to leverage them is a question that remains answered up. We have our experts who go out to negotiate on our behalf, and we just have to hope and support. Hope and support the undertakings when they do that, because they are the qualified people who have been engaged by government to do that on our behalf. And we just have to hope that they also do that with conscience in their minds, so that they look at the support, look at the benefits that will go down all the way to the community level. It's very mind-boggling, especially down the LNG way, Porebara and the Boera villages and Papa, where the LNG pipelines come out from. So one would think that right now they would have huge tanks of water will be going in there, and they'll be just fine. But they're still normal villages. So then I'm from Hanobara, so I'm only 2 minutes away from the city. So we Hanoverans do not see that rural urban differences. For some of us who have been blessed by God, who have lived in most of the provinces of this country and lived among the villages or lived in rural areas where we had to walk to school. And I have an understanding. But for those people who can go to Pomgen, which is 5 minutes drive from here, then you look at those villages down LNG way and why they're still struggling with water and all this. So I'm beginning to begin to question myself. So how did the negotiations go with the LNG benefits from 2011 and 12? Why are they still looking for water? Why no water no gold same yet? Or why is it that the 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 balance of development in terms of schools and houses and other services are still the same there? And we're already talking about the next LNG. And so those are some of the things which we ourselves must prepare ourselves. Because when the time comes, as students, when the time comes when you join the workforce, and then you are in the position to make a decision for the benefit of the whole country, always think about your family. If I make this decision, will my family at home benefit from it? I had to bring my all parents when my father was still alive. I had to bring them to Vincent City. I had to bring them to the Stanley. I had to bring them to the waterfront. Used to be called a naked fish restaurant, whatever. I had to bring them there to show them that because of APEC 2018, government looking for something so that all delegates by Kamya, all by Kamya looking. So I had to make them understand that this is how development works. There must be a reason why it must come in. So then we look at the prioritization of our national Department of National Planning, and you see, we might say that this thing is priority, but according to the greater national mapping, no, got priority no, priority is over there. You pro line lo Hanobara, lusim lo cancel blipla lo fixim up pothole blipla. We don't need to expend money on that. That money, mi putim lo joining one road lo rural bus place lo maybe East Peak or Western Highlands or maybe in the Eastern Britain to join them all. Because they needed better, they needed road to get into the housing. You only have a 5 minutes drive from here to Pomgen. So those are the prioritization we have to look at. No, you look at bring it all the way down again to defense cooperation. You look at the strength of the relationship between the PNG soldier and the Australian soldier as against the PNG soldier and the Malaysian soldier or the Indonesian soldier or the British soldier or the Chinese soldier. No, let's not take that at face value. We have to go back to history, where it all started. Then by me understanding why there is a closer bond on this side, then there is a bond on this side. Okay? Jemima, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ko. That is all from me.
All right, thank you, Jemima. We are running out of time, so we'll stop here. We'll have our last three presenters or attendees ask their questions and make their comments on Tuesday when we meet for the 1 hour session. So we thank Mr. Ako for his time for joining us on this Sunday evening. And all of you, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's Sunday and all of you want to relax and just get over what happened on the weekend and get yourself ready for classes tomorrow. And for us to ask you to come and attend a Sunday night session was a big challenge, but I'm grateful that all of you came and you attended and at least you asked some questions and made some comments. And for the three who did not, we'll start off with you on Tuesday. And I thank Mr. Ako for your time as well. Thank you, everyone. I hope you took notes and you
Thank
learned a
you.
lot from our session. Yes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Ako.
Olgata. Continue to study hard, school good, thinking about parents, lo place. Everything will be okay. Bye. See you all on Tuesday.
All right, thank you. Bye.